What it is, my 10 Peace and Grease here, and today we're talking about the Paracesis versus the Gram Prime. Now, I've been hit up by a couple people, and they're actually kind of mid-debate of which is better, which they should use when, and so I figured I would kind of throw my hat in the ring, give you guys my 2 cents on when and where I use them and which one I happen to prefer. So, if you're not a fan of heavy blades, you're probably not going to like either one of these. Now, heavy blades, while they swing slower, deal more damage. That's really kind of the trade-off. Now, the attack speed can typically be altered by the various Fury mods, so for some people, they don't mind it. But other people want that lightning fast melee weapon. It's completely understandable either way. But if you're not a fan of heavy blades, you're probably not going to like the Gram Prime nor the Paracesis. But while the heavy blades do swing slower but deal more damage, there is something else that heavy blades do, and that is that they have something called momentum. Now, how momentum is going to affect you as you play Warframe is that momentum is going to be the inherent ability to kind of block knockdowns when you're mid-swing. So, let's say, for example, you have a Moa run up next to you and stomp that would typically knock you down. If you're mid-swing with a heavy blade, due to that momentum, it will actually block it, so you will not be knocked down. Another example would be as if an ancient grapples you and knocks you off your feet and pulls you towards them. If you're mid-swing with the heavy blade, because of that momentum, again, it will block it. Alright, so that is something else that heavy blades do that a lot of people either don't know about or overlook. And it is very, very important. I mean, how many times have you been in a mission for a very long period of time, and all of a sudden, that one ancient happens to grapple you, pull you towards them, and the enemies are still doing damage to you, and boom, you get downed, all because you got knocked down. So, yeah, heavy blades do have momentum that does inherently block a lot of those knockdowns, as long as you're mid-swing, obviously. So let's look at the base stats on these, shall we? Now, in regards to the Gram Prime, it has a 32% crit chance with a 2.6 crit multiplier and a 32% status chance. Now, this is fantastic. 32, yeah, that's great. That is really, really great. Now, notice that the Riven disposition is maxed, which is really surprising given the recent Riven disposition changes that DE has implemented. Now, you're going to notice that on the Gram Prime, I have 3 Forma. Now, this is personal choice. I invested 3 Forma because I needed it. I've got a status build as an example. And as you can tell, this gets my status chance up to just over 83%. And it gets my slash damage right around 493.
There's an unlimited mission alert
so
available.
that
Check
is
navigation.
kind of a status build. But my crit is still 32% with the 2.6 crit multiplier. And this is a Weeping Wounds build for status. Here's an example crit build to kind of give you the overall numbers that you would have to look forward to. I have just over 60% crit chance with a 6.5 crit multiplier. My status, still 32%, which will give me those slash procs still. Right? Now this is a Blood Rush build for crit. Now, if you happen to get yourself a Riven for the Gram that emphasizes both status and crit, you could potentially kind of give a little bit to both. Give yourself a good crit, as well as still have a really good status to get those slash procs. Because as you know, slash is king in Warframe, at least until the IPS changes occur. Now, let's talk about the Paracesis. Now, the Paracesis is still a very great heavy blade in its own right. It has a 31% crit chance, which is only 1% lower than the Gram Prime, and a 2.6 crit multiplier, which is identical to the Gram Prime. Here's the rub, though. This is where the difference comes into play. The Paracesis only has a 12% status chance, and while 12% is fine for several weapons, unfortunately the Paracesis gives up 20% to the Gram Prime, because remember, the Gram Prime has a 32 crit, which is 1% higher than the Paracesis, on crit, as well as a 32 status, which is 20% higher than the Paracesis on status. Now, I've got 5 Forma, and you're going to notice something really interesting. It's at rank 40. Now, this is not a typo. Yes, the majority of weapons in Warframe only go to 30. The Paracesis is the exception. It will go to rank 40. In fact, you have to get it to rank 40 to get the MR. Now, I know some people have a problem with this. I personally don't have a problem with it. But there's one huge caveat here. If you're going to force me to dump this much Forma into a weapon and dump this much time into a weapon, then the trade-off has to be worth it. All right, at the end of the day, it has to be worth it. And you're probably wondering, is that much Forma and time investment into the Paracesis worth it? At this moment, nope. Now, hold on. I can already hear people furiously typing away on their keyboard and their keyboard screaming for mercy. Hear me out for a second. Wait a minute. So let me explain this. All right. To get it to rank 40, you have to dump 5 Forma into it, and that's how you get the MR from it. Once you get it to rank 40, you're going to get a 60% increase of damage to sentients, as well as resetting their damage resistance. All right. Now, that's what you gain for getting it to rank 40 with 5 Forma and investing that time into it to get it there. So the question you have to ask is this sentient damage, these buffs, worth the time and the Forma investment? Well, quite honestly, for 98 to 99% of the content in Warframe, it's not. Because how is this going to benefit you against Corpus, or Grineer, or Infested, or Corrupted? The answer is it doesn't. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't improve anything. This is only against sentience. Now, the rub here also is that for years now, we in Warframe have been killing sentience with a multitude of weapons and a multitude of Warframes, and we haven't needed Excal Umbra, we haven't needed the Umbral mods, we haven't needed the Sacrificial mods, and we haven't needed the Paracesis. In fact, many of us still kill sentience without any of those things, even though they're available. So you don't need them right now in Warframe to take out sentience. You just don't. So is this much Forma and time investment worth it? At this moment, no, it is not. It is 100% irrelevant. Doesn't matter. Now, here's the difference. With the upcoming quest, the new war, if sentient damage is going to be critical, that's where all of these things are going to shine. Excal Umbra, the Sacrificial mods, the Umbral mods, and the Paracesis. That's where they're going to shine. If these sentients in the new war are going to be so resistant and so powerful against our regular frames and weapons that we need this increase damage to sentients, then yes, obviously you're going to want to use the Paracesis in that regard. However, something to consider, even if the new war drops tomorrow and sentient damage is incredibly important, that's still going to be only one tiny part of content in Warframe. For the remaining 98 to 99% of the content in Warframe, this is still irrelevant. So while I am fine with DE experimenting with weapons, special weapons to go to a higher rank, again, at the end of the day, the most important takeaway is that it is worth it. By the time I get a weapon to rank 40 or 50 with 5 or 6 or 10 Forma, by the time I get done with it, it better be phenomenal. Because if it's not, you wasted my time. A lot like gilding. Waste players' times. Right? Because you need to understand, this is a way to artificially extend the grind. Right? Not the Paracesis, but stuff like gilding. It's a bad way to artificially extend the grind. And just throwing weapons that can go to a higher rank, but demanding that the player dump more and more Forma and more time into it with no really noticeable increase or benefit from it is a artificial extension on the grind, and it's not a good one. It is very, 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 very bad. All right. So, however, like I said though, the Paracesis is a special weapon from the quest. Again, if the dissension damage is going to be that critical in the new war, then that's great. We have something to combat that. So let's look at these weapon stats really quickly. Oh, one other thing, ribbon disposition. The Paracesis has ribbon disposition of only 3, which indicates that more people are using it versus the Gram Prime, which is really surprising to me. Just really, really surprising. I guess people figure if they dump that much time into it and dump that much forma into it, then they're obligated to use it. Hey, I get it. I was like that too. I was using the Paracesis a lot because it was like, God, I put all this form into it and all this time into it. I feel like I have to use it now. So I totally get it if that's the case. People feel obligated to use it. I get it. Trust me, I felt the same way. Okay, so let's look at these weapons side by side. All right, so here's the base stats side by side. Paracesis is in white. All right. Now, all the green numbers are where the Gram Prime excels over the Paracesis, and all the red numbers are where the Gram Prime fails versus the Paracesis. Okay, so the first one you're going to notice that the Paracesis wins is attack speed. Now, you're talking about a 0.117 difference in attack speed. Honestly, this all can be negated with various Fury mods, so to me, it doesn't matter. The next is damage block, which damage block is important, but it's a small enough amount that really overall, well, in higher level at 5% could be the difference between life or death, but by that point, you're going to get one hit anyway. So, again, yeah, really, really irrelevant to me. And lastly, the Paracesis shines on puncture. Well, 2 problems here. First, it's a very small amount. You're only talking about a 2.5 difference. Secondly, it's puncture. And right now, Slash is still king, at least until the IPS changes hit us. But even if the IPS changes hit us and puncture is fantastic, this is such a small amount of puncture, it doesn't matter. However, if you look at the Gram Prime, it excels at crit chance, it excels at status chance, it excels in all the various attacks, leap, spin, wall attacks. It excels in slash as well as impact. So yeah, in almost every regard, these green numbers, Gram Prime shines over the Paracesis. So, what's my final verdict? What's my opinion on these two? How do I use them? When do I use them? Well, quite simply, here's how I use them. If my choice is the Gram Prime or the Paracesis, I always go Gram Prime. I always do it. So if I'm going against Sentience, yeah, you could argue the case that the Paracesis is best in that scenario, and I would agree with you. But yeah, 98 to 99% of the content in the game of Warframe, I'm going to use the Gram Prime. Alright? And then maybe for 1%, I'll use the Paracesis. Now, hold on. I'm not saying the Paracesis is bad. Either one of these heavy blades will get you through all of the content in Warframe. Either one of them will do the job. Alright? It just so happens that on paper, on stats, the Gram Prime stats are better, and it tends to outshine the Paracesis, which is why I go to the the Gram Prime. Now, with that said, again, appearance, personal preference. I think they both look outstanding. I like them both. I think they both look fantastic. So it's really your personal preference as far as appearance goes. But let me know down in the comment section which is your favorite, which one you like best, and which one you use more. Hopefully this helped you guys out. And until next time, peace and grease.